It's a wild through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box for Doffin, he can hit them, and he does. The Doffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast, and obviously we played away from home yesterday, so obviously we have a defeat to talk about because those two things go together. That's how it works. We will talk about the 2-0 defeat away at Huddersfield. We also have another game, another away game, sadly, but another game to talk about on Wednesday, which will be Millwall, which I'm sure will be
fun.
Something. It'll be something. We've got Danny with us. How you doing? How you doing, Danny?
I'm doing all right. I've just clocked off work, and even though I think it's going to be more negatives than positives, I'm actually looking forward to talking about football.
It's one of those games. It's one of those games where we talk about it now. We'll probably feel a bit better in an hour's time. We'll probably feel a bit better about it all because we're a big rant and a bit of a moan.
Yeah. Hopefully Howard Webber is watching because I've got a bone to pick about the referee, but we'll get that.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll write that down. So pen's died. Right, ref stuff. Mick should be with us. Mick's somewhere on the M1 last we knew.
He's all right, by the way. He's all right. He's just stuck in traffic.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, that's what we'll cover tonight. Yoza's with us. Says another inconsistent performance. Look, it was only 2-0. Gary Mason said we always play rubbish after the international break for some reason. Martin Holland and Holly are with us. YouTube is with us from the Lake District. Dominic Kerwood, Poundmad are with us as well, as are IFC 19 as well, and loads of other people as well. Richard Brown, this is really negative, Richard. Rose tinted the glasses off. We are going down. Now let's start there, Danny. I suppose it was bad yesterday, and we'll come on to how bad it was, and what the reasons maybe we think it was. But it's only one game to get worried about, really. First game since Stoke that's been that bad, really. Yeah,
but I think a lot of it is a lot of people went into it looking at how we played against Norwich and wanting a performance of that standard, and because that didn't happen, I think that's why it looks a lot worse than it is. If that makes sense, because for me, looking at the performance itself, yeah, we didn't match Huddersfield, but at the same time, Huddersfield played just classic Neil Warnock style, and it just didn't come off for us. Like our Estonian friend put two clips together. I think it was this our Estonian friend put two clips together, and it's like fine margins in football. Huddersfield get a goal, and for us, it just misses us slightly. So I wouldn't say we're going down. I wouldn't put that high of a marker on it, but it's just for me. It's one of them games where it's just like, oh, we could have built on something and just been left with egg on our faces, really. But the one player I think deserves plaudits is Tom Eaves. He very nearly scored this time. He's getting closer. I'm telling you, he'll either score. He'll score against Preston, I think.
I suppose there's a question about whether he should even have been on the pitch when Georgie Kelly's on bench. Well, we'll come on to that. We'll come on to subs, but I think that's another topic to go down, to be honest with you. Because, yeah, let's start with a bit of positivity, and that's the Cafu news. Obviously, after we recorded on Thursday, the rumours started circulating that he'd injured his hamstring. The rumours were rife that it was a serious hamstring issue. Thankfully, it is just a minor. It could be back for Preston. Probably not Millwall. Could be back for Preston, if not probably the Cardiff game. It's too easy to say it was just Cafu into Danny. I don't think that's right. I don't think it was just Cafu didn't play, so we were rubbish. That's not fair, is it? I suppose. No,
I don't think we'd pin all our hopes up on Cafu not playing. I mean, I know last season we looked a bit disjointed when Ollie wasn't in the team. Yeah. But I wouldn't really give that to Cafu. I think part of it was Taylor saying about we need a different game plan away from home. And it's like, yes, we do. The current one isn't working. And it almost feels like we're too possession-based. You know, like we can be possession based against Norwich and it work, but away from home, it's almost like we're too possession based. We're a bit scared to actually have a shot just in case the other team breaks. And I think that's the main issue. Too many players hung on the ball for too long, I think. But with Cafu, yes, he does have that distribution arc and does drive you forward. Granted, we did miss that against Huddersfield. But I don't think it's totally on Cafu as to why, because Taihi can carry the ball really well. When Glucas came on, he carried the ball really well. I think it's just shuffling it about a little bit, but playing the same strengths. You know, when you get the ball outside your own 18-yard box, you drive forward, you don't dither on it. And it felt like we dithered on it a bit too long. And that led to some players losing the ball, some players overcooking crosses, and some players just driving down the side and just running into traffic, and then just no one showing for the ball because it almost seemed like we didn't know what the next step was. We've got there. Now what do we do? And a team against a game against Huddersfield, which even Radio Sheffield were playing up to be like the early doors relegation scrap. They're the games that matter, if you like. You know, I'm sure when we play Sheff Wednesday away, if we have that sort of performance, everything will come down on everybody. But yeah, it's a hard one because you see where we were lacking with Cafu's style of football. But like I say, other players could have picked it up very, very easily. You know, Andre Green can drive with the ball. Like I said, Taihi can, Rathbone can as well. So there were a lot of options, but it just didn't seem like it was the right game plan, if that makes sense. Maybe we just lined up against Warnock ball too differently and got caught out with it. But yeah, I'm expecting a few changes for the Millwall game, and hopefully not too many in such a short window either. Yeah.
Mick is with us. Mick, how was the traffic on the M1?
Oh, mate, nightmare. Horrible. Throwing it down with rain.
Yeah.
Great laugh.
What was more enjoyable, the traffic on the M1 or watching the game yesterday?
I'm going to get my car keys now, shall I? And I'll go back.
Yeah, just, you know, we're also going to delve into specifics in a minute, Mick, but it was just another poor away performance. 2 out of 3 now, or almost 2.5 out of 3 because you can't second half a Sunderland game. Plus 14 last season. It's a massive problem.
It's a problem. It's definitely a problem. Make no mistake about it. You know, if you could sort of argue first couple of performances, all right, we're getting into trying to get into the swing of season and everything else, but you know, we've had 2 home games where we've performed really well in both games, and you think, right, we've got a bit of momentum here, and we go away and we just drop back straight into the same old. I just got a little back end of what Danny was saying there, and I don't know whether there's, obviously I'm a little bit late to the party. I don't know whether there's been some discussions about Cafu or whether we're going to go into that, but I don't think you can blame it on him not playing at all. I don't think that made any difference because I think he'd have just been into the same mould. This is an approach issue for me, in my view. It's how we approach the game and not anything to do with talent on or off the pitch. It's a tactical issue or a psychological issue.
Let's go into that then, because I disagree. See, I think we set up okay. I thought we initially, certainly before the first goal, we were trying to move the ball forward. There was positive ideas. Now, the ideas were not executed. The corners were they didn't work. The final ball was dreadful most of the day. But I think up until the goal, I thought it was a relatively even game. And then, obviously, as soon as the goal goes in, you don't want to go 1-0 down against a nil Warnock team. That's just you don't want to do that, and that didn't help. So for me, that's a player issue because the final ball's rubbish. The point where they get to the 18-yard box, because we got there quite a lot. We got around the 18-yard box quite a lot yesterday. When it got there, Danny, they then ran out of ideas. They didn't seem to be able to pick out that pass. The crosses into the ball were a joke yesterday. I don't know why they were, but they were a joke. So for me, that's the players and not performing. For what reason that is, I don't know. But I'm putting most of the blame from yesterday on the players rather than the tactics. Feel free to disagree.
I mean, from what Matt Taylor said, we have a different, not sort of tactics base, but almost like a way of playing away from home. You know, because like we're in effectively the Lions' Den, and we will be on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I see both sides. I see where it's like a tactics issue because really you should sort of apply the same tactics away as at home if that's like your better way of playing, if that makes sense. Like obviously there's different psychological aspects when you're away because you know you're the away team and you've got 3 sides against you as opposed to 3 sides with you. But it shouldn't be that stark of a difference, if that makes sense. You know, and yeah, I can see with players being the issue as well. There were a lot of overcut passes into the box. Like the first few into the box were really poor, and they didn't really get any better. You know, it was just like we're going to balloon it over. Oh, we've hit the first man this time, and there was only a couple where they really hit the mark. One of which being Tom Eaves' effort, and the other one where their keeper pulled off a really stunning save in the box, I believe. Other than that, it just wasn't really getting into the 18-yard box. Like you say, we'd sort of get to the 18-yard line, then go, right, what do? We held onto the ball too long. Oh, we've lost it. Oh, Huddersfield have broke again. And now we're back to square one. But also with tactics away from home, we line up the same. You know, in previous years, we've lined up in a different formation away from home, as we have done at New York. We're lining up the same. So why is there such a vast difference? You know, it could be a players thing. It could be a tactical thing. Maybe that's what Matt Taylor's seen. And that's why he said there needs to be a change when we're playing away now. And it's like the team was exactly the same, bar a Doffin in for Cafu. Yeah. You know, so logic dictates we have the capability to play like we did against Norwich. So why did the performance drop so much? Like, and that's just something I can't answer because you know I'm not a football manager. That will be my question to Matt Taylor meant with the greatest of respect. Why is there such a big gulf in performance level? Like, what's changed there? Like Jordan Hugill, he was really good against Norwich. It didn't feel like he was in the game against Huddersfield. So why is there such a massive gap there?
Yeah. John Morell, this is probably people outside Rotherham will be thinking, they're always rubbish. John Morell asks, was their away form in League One bad? Is it just so simplistic to say the level up and players lack quality and mentality of being pressure as the away side? Our away record in the last 2 promotion seasons were the best in the league. I think we were top for away form in our last promotion season in League One. So, and then you compare that to the 2 wins since Matt Taylor took over away from home. Paul, I think, had 1 win in his entire reign away from home in the Championship in 2.25 seasons almost. Emma Wood, this is a dig. Have a player on the pod and we lose again. There's no need for that, Emma. Come on.
Although that is a running trope, though. That is happening every single time.
Yeah. I don't know why they keep letting us have players, to be honest with you. It's a mystery to me. Well, if you haven't watched it, another plug, go and watch it off him because he's a good laugh. It was great to watch. Go and do that once we're finished here. Yeah. Is it psychological, Nick? Somebody else has put on here. Yeah. Going psychological issue, Power Mad. Yeah.
But it is. It's got to be. It can't be anything else. What else could it possibly be? Because as you rightly said, and I didn't pick up on this, you're absolutely right. We set up exactly the same as we set up at home. And for periods in the game, we did exactly what we did at home. You know, we were trying to keep the ball, we were trying to create openings, but the second that we created an opening, we didn't take it.
Yeah.
Every time the ball into the box, as Danny's rightly said, was woeful at times. Well, half the time, it didn't even land in box. You know, it just completely cleared box. It just, you know, it's got to be psychological. It has to be. And you know, Matt Taylor talks about wanting to shed this little old Rotherham mentality. And yet, when we go away from home, it appears to me from the way that they play that is living rent free in our players' heads, stronger than ever.
There's a fear, isn't there? It looks like there's a bit of a fear.
It feels that way. It feels that way. You know, if had we played to the level we played against Norwich on Saturday, we would have walked that game, but we didn't. We allowed them as the home team to dictate the play, and as you rightly say, what Neil Warnock always does, he scrappies up the game. You know, it just slows it all down, and we did not deal with it in any way. We did not impose ourselves on the opposition. We fanned around with the ball in areas where we were never going to create anything, and then when we did get to a situation where we could create something, we just essentially put it out of play almost. You know, it has to be psychological. I don't think there was any difference in terms of, like you said, the setup. It was just, I don't know. If you want to shed this little old Rotherham culture or whatever it is, mentality, then get out away from home and play the way you do at home and attack teams. You may well lose. However, if you try and just soak up the pressure, you're going to lose anyway. So what's the point? There is no point.
It almost feels like it's that old chestnut of would you rather lose 3-0 away but really take the game to them, or lose 1-0 and do an FO?
Yeah. You're going to win more. You're going to win more playing in that fashion than you are trying to soak up the pressure. We didn't really try and soak up the pressure yesterday.
No,
we just had no creativity. It's not as though we sat back or anything. We just didn't create anything. So that it has to be some sort of psychological issue, I suspect, with the players. And we need to shed it pronto. We need to get in there and attack the opposition, home or away. We attack them at home, you know. And it's all right saying, well, you can't really play like that away from home. We've played Leicester and Norwich City at home, who will hurt you if you attack them. They will pick you apart, you know. And Leicester did precisely that at the end of the day. However, we gave them a proper game and could and possibly should have had something out of that game. Norwich tried it and failed. You know, Blackburn tried it and without the help of the referee would have failed. We need to be doing the same away from home, I'm afraid. And that's my view as a non-qualified football coach. You know, it just feels, I don't know, it feels like we're just wet away from home. We're just wet.
Yeah, but I also think the way Huddersfield played didn't help us. They played, and Chris Teller's put it, Les Painter and I follow, that we were playing with their home side. Huddersfield kept hitting on the break, the left two up top. Huddersfield were essentially playing like the away side. They were waiting for us to do something, waiting for us to move forward, and then when the gaps appeared, they just hit us on the break. Could it be it's just one of those things? It was just one of those games because, again, I know it's only 25 minutes against Sunderland, but that was an away game, and that was a completely different type of performance. This is the point of this season, I suppose. We've got such a small sample size, haven't we? We've got 3 away games to look at this season, and I know we keep harping back. I think I did it count it earlier. It's 17 away games without a win in all competitions. That is now.
But that's a stat that we don't want to be publicising to anybody, do we?
Because that'll play into the psychological aspect even more. Because then that's the.
But it already is. That's the thing, isn't it? That record, much like survival last season, was this little thing hanging over the club. This has been hanging over the club. Again, I'll go back and this is not a dig-up point. This has been hanging over the club since Paul Warren was here. This has been a huge problem for the last 4 seasons in the Championship. This is not this is not something that Matt Taylor's created on his own. It's for some reason, and that's why I think it's obviously a psychological issue, because it's been 3 and a bit seasons now.
It will turn around. It clearly will turn around. However, you know, it's frustrating. It's frustrating when, you know, had Saturday's game been away at Norwich, and we'd performed the same and got beaten 2-0, it wouldn't have hurt quite so much. Because we're not fighting Norwich, and you would expect everybody would expect Rotherham United to go to Norwich and lose. Huddersfield away from home, who are going to be down there and possibly managerless. We have to go and take the game to them. We have to, and we didn't.
Yeah, no, it didn't. Let's pick out some players that come in for some stick, some maybe rightly so, some less so. Jordan Hugel's is often, whenever we lose, Danny, Jordan Hugel's the one that takes a lot of the stick, to be honest with you. I feel sorry for him. I don't really know what Jordan Hugel was meant to do. I thought he won a fair amount of headers against Hillick, who is a mountain. If they're going to go against, it's going to be a tough afternoon for Jordan Hugel. But he was, once again, he was massively isolated. I think he had one chance of a header in the game, which he just was only slightly over the bar. I feel sorry for him, to be honest with you. In games like that, I feel really sorry for Hugo because I just don't know what he's meant to do, to be honest with you.
Yeah, in a game like against Huddersfield, like I say, we're very isolated, and we didn't play the football that he thrives off. Against Norwich, we play the football that he thrived off. Getting it out wide, getting it really involved, and getting it in Norwich's faces. That's a football he likes. He likes getting in the faces, but also likes the delivery from out wide. But we were so poor with crosses and so ball hungry when playing it on the floor. Hugo wasn't really getting anything. He certainly put himself about, but he wasn't really getting anything. I think my main criticism of him was that he lacked the pressing intensity that he had against Norwich.
I agree with that.
In terms of playing to his strengths, we didn't do that, so he's not going to get a lot of chances at goal at all. But he didn't really keep the press on. Maybe that's because he wasn't getting the service, or etc. etc. But I said to the guys I was stood with, it was crying out for someone up top who was unpredictable. I don't know what Kelly's fitness level is. I don't know where Nombe is either. But it was crying out for someone who was a bit unorthodox. Because Jordan Hugel's like the in-your-face attacker who likes to cross us in. Tom Eads is the big man up top. But for Nombe and Kelly, who are a bit rough around the edges, a bit less clean cut, unpredictable, that's the sort of game they would have thrived off. Like the pressing the back line and getting really stuck in there, that would have benefited us. But I suppose with someone like Hillick, you needed someone like Hugo. Yeah. But then if you don't play to Hugo's strengths, then Hugo does nothing apart from keep one defender occupied when there's another four of them across the back line anyway. I can see where the stick for Hugo comes from, but I think it gets a bit over-egged sometimes. Same with Cohen Bramley, if I'm being honest. I think that gets over-egged.
We will come on to that. Chris Taylor said, after the first 15 minutes, Green and Fred never supported Hugo. Yeah, Hacks didn't get up there either, Mick. I think we've had to rush Hacks back, to be honest with you. It wasn't fully fit, which hasn't helped. But just your take on Hugo, is the criticism that he gets whenever we lose, it seems to be, is that unfair?
I don't think he got any protection on Saturday. I think whenever there was a 50-50 challenge, it was always given to the defender. Always. And there were times when it should have gone the other way and didn't. But I mean, that's just football. It's not very effective, is it? Is the bottom line for Jordan Hugill at the moment. Whether it's something to do with the injury or what, I don't know. But the reality of the situation is that the majority of the time he's not that effective. He holds the ball up a bit, but we're hoping that we're not going to be playing in that fashion where we need a player up there to hold the ball up. We should be playing. We're looking to start to play the ball on the floor, play the ball either through the middle or getting balls into the box. And we're not getting the balls into the box, so he's not having any effect there. And he's got no pace at all, unfortunately for him. Again, whether the injury is compounded that or not, I don't know. So you can't really play him through balls or whatever because he's just not going to catch him. To give him stick, I think he's unfair. But what do you expect? We've lost, so Teddy's come flying out at Cots all over town, don't they? That's what happens, and that's not just Rotherham. Obviously, that's across the board. It's all football clubs. I'm not sort of having a dig at Rotherham fans necessarily, but it's ineffective, and we need somebody up there who's going to affect the games. So we either give him what he thrives on, or we change it.
Yeah, I think you're right. He certainly wasn't effective. I didn't think that was his fault that he was ineffective. He's not the type of player who can go get the ball and do something. He's not got that X factor kind of thing. He needs help. He needs people to put the ball essentially on a plate for more in the right areas for him, which we're just not doing. Or in the games where we're not playing well, that's what we're not doing. Sorry, we did it very well against Norwich. Very, very well against Norwich.
The thing that Hugo thrives off is the man to run off him. And this is what Ronnie Moore said on Radio Chef before which game was it before? Norwich game? And whichever it was. And he said Hugo needs the man to run off him, or like the ball into the box. And when you've got poor balls into the box, and like the comment said, where Green and Onyedinma just didn't support him, so that's why Hugo was so isolated. There was no man to be Hugo's number two, if you like. Normally it's Green. Normally Green comes inside and is closer to Hugo. And when Green's pushed too far wide, whether that's with the ball or whatever, then Onyedinma comes in. That's how we played against Norwich, and it worked. But against Huddersfield, that didn't happen. They were always too wide to really support Hugo. And that's why he looked so isolated and just didn't get anything. And maybe Odoffin was a bit, what's the word? A bit light because he's just come back from injury. But again, that was the whole psychological thing and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pick up some comments from earlier which we've missed. John says, I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to worry about you guys. I thought a few crap sides this season for the likes of Cardiff. Mohammed says, we lose the ball all the time, overthought everything, and look like a deer in the headlights. Martin Miller comes from a different angle, says we're in danger of alienating a lot of the away fans by continually surrendering and predictably losing on the road. Why bother travelling? Simply not good enough yet again. IFC okay, strong. I think it's disgusting how we play away. The team look lazy and think it's okay to go away from home and hope for the best. Not good enough. Strong feelings. I understand people's feelings about it because
it's how it feels.
It is how it feels. Yeah.
It is how it feels because the away performances just feel so lackluster in comparison to the intensity that we play with at home. And that's something that the management team are going to have to address, and the players are going to have to address, probably more so than the management team, to be fair. Because make no mistake, they are more than capable. That starting 11 are more than capable of going to the John Smith Stadium and walking out with 3 points. No question whatsoever. None at all. But yesterday, very few of them performed and did the job that they were required. I mean, there's a few performances that were way below par. And to be fair, arguably Jordan Hugo wasn't one of them that was below par. It was just par.
Yeah. Sam Darby says, when do we start looking towards the management? It's been under nearly a year, only won 9 games. Yeah, only 6 games into this season, though, excluding the cup, obviously. 3 away games this season. But I'd say, are the management capable? Time will tell, obviously, but I think I've seen no reason to suggest that they aren't capable.
This is not an overnight fix.
No.
It's not an overnight fix from going from the team that Paul Warne put out to a team that can compete in this division. You can't do it overnight. This is a season, a 2-season job to be able to consolidate yourself. You can't just do it with the click of a finger. And there are going to be bad performances. There are always going to be bad performances. No matter what level you're at, there are going to be bad performances. However, at the moment, there are far too many bad ones and not enough good ones. But on the flip side of that, when we're good, we're absolutely excellent.
Yeah.
So it's about creating that level of consistency, which we all know, having been in this division however many times over the last 10 years, anybody in this division that's consistent is at the top. So it's all about consistency, and it ain't going to change overnight. And for me, talking about changing managements is monumentally wrong. I mean, it's madness.
You have to remember as well, this is the first summer window where Matt Taylor's really been able to put his stamp on the team, because January
6 games into it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a squad that he's got until January now, where that's your chance to make tweaks. But Taylor's first window was one where it was like, because January is effectively the tweaking window where all the prices are overinflated unless it's freeze or whatever. Whereas the summer window is your chance to really put your stamp on the team. All right, fair enough. We missed out on a few players. I think we missed out on Danny Barth, who went to Norwich, and he's the one marquee sign we missed out on.
Norwich.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, this is Taylor getting his stamp on it, and Norwich is what we are capable of, but we still will have performances like Huddersfield. And Taylor now needs to find the balancing act of we need more Norwich levels than Huddersfield levels. Because Norwich was the first game where, it's out the window, really put a stamp on it. All right, fair enough. We left room for a free agent, which we've got. And I thought he played really well against Huddersfield. Whereas Huddersfield's the first game after the international break, and that's away, and so it's that's something that needs sorting out, and that's down to Matt Taylor. But that's his job to be paid to do that. And from seeing how he got on at Exeter, right, and learning a fair bit about how he managed Exeter, if you like, I agree with Mick completely. It's a process. It's not going to get fixed overnight.
We're not really talking about losing managers, surely. We're not.
No, we're not.
It's like, have I joined a Sheffield Wednesday podcast all of a sudden? You know what I mean? For God's sake.
Well, we'll just to underline this bit, and then we'll move on to some more specifics. Is we are in a relegation battle. We are going to be almost certainly going to be in a relegation battle. So we are going to have days where we play really badly and lose to a team that we think we should have beaten. I think that's all yesterday was.
Is that something that's changed since the beginning of the season?
Well, but that's right. That's the reaction. I get the reaction. I understand it because of the general away form. I think it's important to remind people that yes, the Norwich game was great, but we're going to have really bad days this season. We've already had 2, so you could count Stoke in this one. We're going to have maybe worse days than yesterday. So get ready for that. Don't think we're going to go down. It's just let's chill a bit. I think. Some people, most people are alright. I think. Let's just chill.
Come on,
remember Super Matty Taylor, and he knows exactly what we need. Right. Carry on with that, and we'll be fine.
Jamie says, "What are your thoughts about carrying on when somebody is down injured?" Yeah, obviously you've not seen the game. Colin Bramall got injured. He went down, stayed down. Huddersfield scored from it. I'll throw to you guys. I don't have a problem with it. Don't have a problem with what happened, how it happened. It's just that's how it works. Anything against that?
From seeing how Bramall went over the ball and how his knee bent going over the ball, I was very, very surprised he got up.
I was.
But he got up, he tested it out, and he was fine with it. Great. But my point of view at the time, for me, it was annoying how Huddersfield's carried on, because I know we wouldn't have, if that makes sense. We would have stopped and checked the play was all right, because that's what I've come to expect. But the way Huddersfield carried on, it's like, that sportsmanship out the window. We're in one of those sort of games. And for me, that's the two sides of football. You can be really sportsmanlike and go, we might be seriously injured and put the ball out. Or you can carry on because they're a player down and you might be able to score. That's down to the referee to make that decision, whether it's a serious injury and he stops it or he carries on. I didn't hear any whistle from the referee, so carry on. That's football. You have to it's competing, and there is the mucky side of competing where you aren't a good person, but it's to the benefit of your team, and that's exactly what Huddersfield did. So I went, fair play. But everyone around me went, right, if one of their players goes down injured, we don't stop now because we're in that sort of game. All right, it didn't happen, but that's the mentality of it, in my opinion.
I would have been, had the situation been reversed, I would be very annoyed how we put the ball out. That's not how we do it. That's not how things are done nowadays. Whether you like it or not, that's not how it's done. The ball shouldn't have been kicked out. Huddersfield did the right thing. And they took full advantage of it. It shot off your cap a little bit to make thoughts.
Sorry, I'll let my comments talk. So there's something else I picked up on, but make the floor yours.
I mean, it's a disgrace, and I think we should blame Colin Bramall for goal because everybody else is doing that, aren't they?
I've seen him getting stick for getting injured. Yeah.
I mean, it's just bizarre. But anyway, no, it's his fault. Absolutely, it's not the fault of any of the players for the 10 minutes while they were down for not stopping the ball going into the box. None of their fault. They should not accept any responsibility for that whatsoever. You know, it's not their fault. It's Colin Bramall's fault for going down and staying down when he weren't actually injured, in inverted commas. You know, now, I mean, as Danny's quite rightly pointed out there, you know, he's gone over the ball and it looked like he was injured. He looks like he's turned his ankle. He spoke the other day, like you said, to Hakeem Adoffin, and he came off after the Sunderland game as a precaution because he tweaked something. The players are going to be told, you know, if you tweak something, you stay down. We do not want you standing back up and tearing it worse, making it worse. For obvious reasons, and that makes sense. There's 10 other players on that pitch who can see that we've got a man down, so it's your responsibility now to cover, and we didn't. We didn't. So the responsibility for that goal does not lie on the shoulders of Colin Bramall, in my opinion. Other people's opinion may differ, but in my opinion, it doesn't. It falls on the responsibility of the remainder of the defence and midfield to stop that ball getting into the box. And it also falls, and I will maybe come onto this, I don't know, it falls onto the shoulders of Dexter Lembakisa not to let his man get away from him at the back post, which is what he did. Got caught.
He had two though, didn't he?
Say again?
He had two though, didn't he? There were two men, weren't there?
Yeah, he did, but the one that you can't see is going to be the one that's going to cause you the most danger, and they just let him come in straight behind him. Unfortunately for Dexter yesterday, for me, he was at fault for both goals.
Yeah.
He had a bad game yesterday. He had a bad day at the office. But to blame Colin Bramall is it's beyond my comprehension, I'm afraid. Absolutely. But listen, like I said, it's all about opinions in it, and I'm sure other people have a different one. But nah.
Yeah, it blew my mind when I saw people blaming him. I'll be honest with you, it blew my mind.
Yeah, no, it's not Cohen's fault. We didn't react to it. That's what it was. We just didn't react to it. Because, like you say, Mick, he's down on the floor. He's gone over. You thought it was his ankle. I thought it was his knee because his knee sort of went a weird direction, and it's like, that could be an ACL that's gone there, which is very serious. That would have ended Cohen's season if that was the case. But he's gone over. Quite rightly stayed down because it must have hurt in some regards. Yeah. But nobody reacted to it. It's like if you've got a man down and it's within the parameters of your 18-yard box, you get the ball out for a corner or make sure the ball goes the opposite way. And then if the player does need treatment, then you can actually have the game stopped. And we just didn't react to it. And there was a time in the was it the second half? I think it was the second half where Huddersfield cleared one of the balls. All of our squad stopped. The ball was still in play. That's gone out for a throw in that, and it bounces back into play. Like, all right, fair enough. The fans who were sat along the touchline in our end would have had a better view if it had gone out or not. But you play to the whistle. You know what I mean? If you don't hear a whistle, you still need to clock on that ball could still be in play. But we all just stopped and started walking away, and then their players picked it up, and it's like, hang on.
Yeah.
You know, that for me was all right, if you can argue like the team performance and the way the goals were scored out, just cut across 6-yard box, back post, and it's in both times. But for me, that was the bit that's like, what's happened here? You cannot do that at championship level. Just switch off and start walking away. And it's like, lads, the ball's still in.
There's quite a lot of naivety about this team at the minute. There's quite a lot of naivety. Dexter, as we mentioned, was at fault. He had easily his worst game for the club so far. But I think that's why you're desperate to have Peltier back. Because when Dexter is playing like that, you need to take him off. But you couldn't take him off because there was no available change. Peltier may be back for Wednesday, or if not Saturday, I think, which is good news.
So, I mean, and to be fair, it's the first game where he's not performed up to the level that we expect him to. But I don't see him getting any grief and earache on social media. Don't see any of that whatsoever. You know, because he scored a screamer last time out, he's obviously got some credit in bank. It really winds me up. It really gets my goat that we have to pick a player all the time who we're going to pick on. And the first opportunity we get to dig him in ribs, we'll dig him in ribs, whether it's his fault or whether he's responsible or otherwise. You know, we're all supporting the same team. These players are all playing for our team, and yeah, we can call them out when they have a bad game. Yeah, we can call them out when they make a mistake, but none of them do it deliberately. None of them, you know, and yet, time after time after time, we find one player and we dig them and dig them and dig them and dig them out until they lose complete confidence in themselves and turn into an absolute shed. Oh, it's a great idea. You know, let's do it to all of them, and then we won't have any team. It don't make any sense to me. It doesn't, honestly. But anyway, that's my old man view.
Your 2p on it.
Harry says, I was going to give Cam Humphries stick, however it is ill, so we'll let it slide. The whole defence was off yesterday. Cam Humphries was poor. Don't think Blackett had his best game, although I don't think Blackett was the issue. And Dexter was just well below. We're not going to have time to cover everything I want to talk about tonight, to be honest with you. So let's move on to, I want to talk about the substitutions. Because these rattled me a little bit, to be honest with you. Obviously, the game was going quite badly, to be honest with you. It was going quite badly from about 15 minutes onwards, to be honest with you. I'm just loading the substitution now to refresh my memory exactly when they came on and who I know who came on. But I'll be honest with you, mate. I thought we talked about substitutions a lot last season, and I'm going to bring the same conversation now. Really, Arvin Appiah came on 56 minutes, which I don't have a problem with. I think that made a bit of sense with the change shape of the pace. We conceded a goal in the 70th minute, second goal. It was clear, as I said, from 20 minutes that there was a problem. There was a problem with whatever it was. It needed changing, especially when it gets to 55 minutes, 60 minutes. Puel wasn't at his best day. We need to do something a little bit different. The subs came on in 75 minutes. That's probably 15 minutes too late. Yeah. And if you make that sub when it's only 1-0, there is a possibility of something being changed. I'll talk about the personnel in a minute because I've got another question there. But I thought the timings of the substitutions were far, far, far too slow. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think we were too late to try and impact the game. Obviously, at 2-0, you're virtually out of it. You're then relying on grabbing a goal and destroying the confidence of a team who've not won at home all season, you know, and hopefully grabbing another one. So yeah, it was too late by the time those final substitutions were made. But yeah, what can you do?
Hindsight is marvellous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
It is, but I'm sure I wasn't the only one sat there on 60 Minutes yesterday thinking, we've got to do something here. We've got to change something.
Oh, no, I exactly the same. Like, that's the one where you need to refresh your front line. I think, like you say, Appiah coming on 55 minutes, that actually made sense, and I actually think Appiah played quite well, to be fair. But, you know, like we're having a look, we conceded on 70 minutes. All right, we say about substitutions being about 10 minutes earlier. We didn't really see that we were going to concede beforehand, but, you know, because we're crystal ball, you know. But I agree, I think we should have brought on the attacking changes when we brought Appiah on.
Yeah.
Give it 10 minutes, see how, give it 10 minutes, see how we're doing. It's like, we've took the game to Huddersfield just a little bit. Attacking changes on so they don't get used to it. That's what I have done. It almost felt like they were a bit backwards. You know, you want to bring some more, how do I put it, more bodies on earlier and then just tweak it later on. Huddersfield could have done that because they were winning. You know, they brought 4 players on at once. But just looking at the subs and when they came on, we only used 2 windows. We could have actually used somebody else to come on. But we didn't, which is interesting.
It is what it is, but they didn't impact the game. None of them impacted the game. Well, so that's not true, actually.
Probably Clucas did.
I think Clucas did. A few people in the comments have said that.
I thought Appiah looked lightweight for me. He got knocked off the ball very, very easy. He hung on to the ball for too long and spent most of his time going sideways rather than forwards. He's clearly got some talent. There's no doubt about that. He can carry a ball and everything else. and we've seen 10 minutes of him. So it's not a judgment on him, just based on what we saw on Saturday. He needs to he needs to sort of strap a pair on a little bit and be a little bit more aggressive. But he can certainly carry a ball, and it's certainly going to cause people some problems so long as he moves around 90 degrees and goes forwards rather than sideways. On that, I thought Klukas, like you said, looked very promising. He looks like somebody that we could do with in the squad who will influence the game. The lad's only been here a week. He's on. He's shouting at people. He's organising. He's winning the ball. He's being positive with the ball. He's going forward with the ball. He's bringing other players into the game. He looks like he could, assuming that he stays fit, it could be a very, very good acquisition. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the other one that's worth mentioning, I think you're always going to bring Nombe on because I think it gives you something different, got that pace and a bit of power. I don't really get the Eves substitution, Mick. Bringing Eves on over Georgie Kelly, you're 2-0. At that time, you're 2-0 down. You're desperate for a goal. You're desperate for something strange to happen. You want Georgie Kelly on the pitch.
Well,
if he's fully fit. In fact, no, it was 15 minutes left in game. He don't need to be fully fit. He just needs to be able to stand around for 15 minutes.
I think probably naively what they've seen is that Hugo was getting bullied by, is it Helic?
Healy, I guess, not like that.
Yeah. Helic, whoever his name is. I thought we'd put somebody who was bigger on. And to be fair, he should have scored. He should have scored. I think he was, given that it's a header, he was reaching for it a little bit. It was in front of him, so he couldn't really get a massive amount of power on the header. But head that down to one side or the other, and it's going in. But his eyes would lit up, weren't they? And he's not scored, etc., etc. That hits the back of the net, and he's thinking, "Yes, here we go." And unfortunately, he's headed it straight at keeper. So, I'm not gonna pile on Tom Eaves. There's enough people do that, don't they? He did no better or worse than Jordan Hugill for me. No better or worse.
He gave the ball away a couple of times on the edge of the box.
Well,
it was 2 or 3 times.
So did Hugill. So
I suppose
that there's nothing to choose between them for me on Saturday. Both were ineffective, really. So
all I'm saying is Eves was getting closer to scoring. No, against Norwich, which one was it? Against Norwich, he didn't sort his feet out properly, but a golden opportunity with this one. He actually had the shot on target. So next chance in the 6-yard box, it'll probably come off his knee, but it'll go in.
Mixed views. Kelly Chav says that Kelly is no better than Eves.
Kelly's miles better than Tom Eves. I agree. Correct. I disagree with that.
John Morrell said, I know you like guys like Kelly. I've said it before. He is the champ. If he is a championship player, I'm Donald Trump. But he knows where the back of the net is. His goals to minute ratio will be very, very good for the time he's been at the football club. That's why we like him. He's not. He probably, for 90 minutes, he's probably a championship footballer. But he knows where the back of the net is. By hook or by crook, he will find a way of putting the ball on the back of the net.
That's nail on head there. Like you say, 90 minutes is not a championship footballer, but for the half an hour when he comes on as a sub, he's away. And he scored some big goals. I mean, look at the Burnley goal, for example. It's not pretty, goal. It's not clean.
Huddersfield last season. Yeah. Blackpool as well.
Yeah. Not pretty, but he gets the job done.
Correct. I would much prefer to see George. I think Tommy Hughes puts the effort in. I'm not digging out Tommy Hughes' effort that he puts in, but I think George is.
You need somebody up there who's going to be effective, who's going to impact the game. Exactly. And unfortunately, neither Hugill nor Eves are doing that at the moment. Whether George is not going to do that for 90 minutes, fit or otherwise, he is going to score you important goals, but he's not. He's going to do that from the bench at this level. He's not going to do it for 90 minutes. So we've paid out £1 million for Nombe. We've played him for 15 minutes here and there, unable to impact the game because he's not playing for long enough. So let's start him. Let's give him that opportunity to get himself into the game and see what he can actually do at this level. Again, he's going to be another player that is going to need game time. He can't just start him on Tuesday or Wednesday night, whenever it is, at Millwall and expect him to bag 3 before 15-minute mark. It's not going to happen, is it?
No.
I mean, obviously, social media will expect it to happen. If it doesn't, then he'll be castigated all over Twitter. But
Yeah.
there you go.
Chav in the comments says, "How many goals has Georgie Kelly scored?"
Is it 7?
I don't have the word. I don't have the exact wing, but I know it's many more than Tom Eves, and that's
Yes.
the point. That's the
It's
point.
many more than Jordan Hugo.
I think it might be more than John. It's
So
It's either the same or Kelly's got like one
Yeah, but
more. I think.
the key is as far as George is concerned. I mean, go on. We need to get on to Millwall, don't we? But the key is, as far as George is concerned, is he gets himself in goal scoring positions and he hits the target and he does it consistently. The other two don't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just quickly getting the stats up. I don't know why I'm getting the stats up, to be honest.
Fingers crossed on 7, because I think it might be.
Georgie, so Tom Eves has, in this spell, has 0 goals in 24. Georgie has 5 goals in 31, 32.
However, none of them. How many of those has he started? 3, 2?
3, exactly 3,
Yeah. So, anyway.
Anyway, let's move forward. Is there anything else on the Huddersfield game you want to talk about before we move forward? Talk about another away game.
The referee being, referees against Rotherham, really. There was a lot of inconsistencies with Huddersfield getting them and us not getting them, but yeah. Standard these days.
I thought the referee had a decent game in the sense of a consistent game. He blew for everything, essentially. As soon as somebody shouted "ow," he blew, didn't he? You know, it's nice to see, or not nice to see, the time wasting business no longer in.
And kicking the ball away as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. The added time, we've got 6-7 substitutions and a goal in the second half.
Yeah.
And nothing, next to no injury time, 3 or 4 minutes, I think it was, whatever. We've got Huddersfield putting the ball in the back of the net twice after the whistle had gone. Nothing was done about it. So despite what we were told at the beginning of the season that this is going to continue, we are going to carry on with this. No, we're not. Because we clearly,
like every other directive, it lasts for 4 or 5 games, and
the issue with that, the issue I have with that is that we have now got 2 players on 2 yellow cards that shouldn't be on 2 yellow cards, because if they did what they did to get those yellow cards now, they wouldn't get one, and it's not acceptable, not good enough. And I know John's in the comments already, and I shouldn't have started on that, should I? But because they had Keith Stroud on Saturday, and I don't think it went well. So. My apologies and commiserations go to you, John.
I reckon John's got steam coming out of his ears now.
Can't happy Keith. Move forward to Millwall. I can't give any positive stats in terms of history. Our last win at the Den was in 2014, which was, I think, under Steve Evans. Ben Pringle with just a 1 goal, with the 1 goal in a 1-0 win back then. Referee is Jeff Eltringham. He last refereed us against Birmingham last season, the guy who gave the phantom corner, which resulted in, I think, Birmingham's first goal. He's refereed us a few times.
That's the phantom corner, don't we?
Yeah.
But had one already this season.
It's an away game, mate. So,
yeah.
What's going to happen? They've lost 3-0 today to Leeds, who look like kicked into gear, to be honest with you. But Millwall, a mixed start to the season. I don't think they've had maybe as good a start as they would have liked. All it's right is taking the game to. We've got to take the game to, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Look, we've played Millwall every time we've been in this division, obviously. And every time we've played Millwall, they've been bang average. Every time. Absolutely bang average. And they've pasted us. I mean, they pasted us last time when we went down there.
Yeah, we were
and they were.
That one wasn't in the middle of our injury crisis as well.
Whether it was or not, they were still bang average, which shows how poor we were. And I've seen nothing very little of Millwall this season, so it's difficult to say. But I don't see them being any different. It will be a bang average side. So what you're going to do? Are you going to go down there and allow the home side to take control of the game, and hope that you can hit them on the break, or you're going to go down there and attack them. You know, the confidence is going to be low after getting a battering on Sunday from Leeds. It's up to us, isn't it? It's up to Matt Taylor now to get these players up for this game and go down there and play like we played against Norwich. Play without any fear and let's attack them, because if you attack them, we will win the game. We're more than capable of getting the points. We're more than capable of winning the game without a shadow of a doubt. And given their result today and their start, which has been unsurprisingly bang average, we've got to make this. We've got to start and attack teams. We've got to do it. So for me, just get on front foot and start to play like we did in that first half against against Sunderland, like we did against Norwich, like we have done against Leicester. We can do it. Why aren't we doing it away from home? Why does it matter? Why does it matter where we're playing? It's still a football pitch with goals at each end. You know, nothing else should change, really. So for me, it's only when you're under the cosh that the crowd begins to begin to have an impact.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I've never played in that environment, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
True. We should have asked Hacks.
Yeah.
Steve Adams says, will Wes be playing? Probably not. Norton Cuffy is for 2 seasons in a row taking Wes's position, to be honest with you. I'll find out now if he's been playing at all. Wes, I know he was on the bench there. He was an unused substitute today in their 3-0 loss. But that's not matter either way. Danny, let's talk about lineups. We've obviously made the one change from Saturday. I don't think any new injuries came out from Saturday just gone. Kaffer will probably not be available. Where do we go? What do you want to see? What changes do you want to see for Saturday?
I'd like to see potentially Nombe come in for Hugel. I think.
Or can I tease you into having 2 strikers?
Oh, that's a shout. I mean, the Millwall still play box standard 4-4-2.
I think so.
Well, I say match it up and just keep the press on him. Even if Hugel's not completely high pressing, Nombe's got the pace to really press them into oblivion, really. The only question would be, is Andre Green and Onyedinma capable of dropping back and being effectively just your wide midfielders? They've got the pace to do it, sure, but they've been always in that in part of that front three, if that makes sense. But I'd like to be able to see it, maybe them sitting slightly deeper, slightly less gap to the quick fullbacks. It's an idea, yeah. Potentially, yeah. I'm not sure. Stick or twist? That's the question. Stick or twist?
Yeah. Holly says, "There's another option will come. Jimmy Lindsay's a medical appointment on Friday. We need a body back. Jimmy Lindsay will be a great body to have back with. What Jimmy Lindsay gives you, I think we're missing as well, to be honest with you." John Morrell and a few other people said 3-5-2. They play sort of 4-4-2, but
right,
we still sort of match them up in terms of having an extra striker in there.
Well, let's bear in mind that at the back they've got that little 6'17", haven't they?
Cooper,
whatever his name is, yeah. So, are we going to do the old Paul Warne trick and bear in mind that we've got a 6'17" defender? So I know what we'll do. We'll play it in air.
Yeah.
Why would we play Jordan Hugo? Why would we play Tom Eaves?
That's a fair comment.
That wouldn't make sense to me, because if you're gonna start knocking the ball up to Hugo, he's not gonna win it. He's not gonna. So let's be looking at something different. For me, that's my view up front. So Nombe, give him a start. Let's see what he can do. Let's start playing the ball through the middle, like we have been doing, and have some players running in off him. So we'll have to wait and see on that, won't we? But have we got any news on the Cafu injury?
Minor injury, probably not Wednesday. Chance for Saturday, if not, definitely on the Cardiff game.
I mean, he's back running already, so that's a very positive sign. But I think you've called it perfectly there, Mick. If Millwall are playing with the 5 across the middle, it'll have to be balls through the space and players running onto it. And unfortunately, that's not Jordan Hugel. That's Sam Nombe, that's potentially Georgie Kelly or the 2 wider players. So even if we do stick with 4-3-3 and have players chase onto the ball, that could be our route in behind their midfield potentially.
I don't think this is an issue now of personnel. There might be some tweaks here and there. This is not a personnel issue. This is an attitude issue. This is an approach to the game issue. And it doesn't matter who that 11 is, whether it be the same 11 that started on Saturday or whether there's some tweaks here or there. The bottom line is we have to approach the game differently to the way we've approached Stoke and Huddersfield away from home, not necessarily Sunderland. Because the way we approached that Sunderland game away from home was excellent until we conceded, and then we reverted back to type. So for me, it's about the approach. Let's get into them.
Yeah, agreed. John Morell just gives we haven't done a scout report for Millwall. We haven't had time over the last few days. We've done a few episodes. So I have time. We haven't got a scouting report, but John said they really struggled against our pace when they played Birmingham, which plays into potentially Bramall being a bit more positive than it has done as well. So,
well, it does. We'll see. You've got Onyedinma, you've got Lembasika. We've got the pace in the team without a shadow of a doubt. Unless you play Jordan Hugel up front, and then you're lacking in that pace in that front area. Yeah. So maybe that's something again that we need to address. But for me, like I know I keep banging on about it, change your attitude, change your approach, change your mindset. You should be getting off that bus at Millwall and thinking, nah, this is ours. We're having this, and that should run all the way through.
And what I will say to defend Matt Taylor, and not that he needs defending, because I'm sure he can defend himself, is that he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who'll just go, yeah, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. Don't worry about it. It'll change. It'll change eventually. That he doesn't come across as that kind of guy. If there's something that needs changing, we'll try and change. Whether it's a mental thing, it may take time. So I'm not saying we're going to go smash Millwall 6-0 like we did 20 years ago, or whatever it was. But I'm hoping to see some positive changes on Wednesday, not Saturday. Aaron asks Ferguson, when's Ferguson back? How long was a piece of string, I think, is the latest with Shane Ferguson.
I love that saying. It's so good.
He's just had rotten luck. Playing through an injury last season. Again, for reading all Paul Davis' articles, he played through an injury last season, and now they can't fix the problem. Basically, that's how it reads and seems. So, which again is a shame.
It is, but Colin Bramall should have got up and compounded his injury on Saturday instead of laying on floor.
True, that's true, very true. We'll see. We'll see.
Let that go down on there.
You do, but then when he makes a mistake on Wednesday, everybody get over to Mick's Twitter and have a look.
Yeah, listen, you're all welcome. You're all welcome. I just be aware that the F key's stuck on my phone. It just keeps.
Yeah. Let's just do some predictions. Mick, Millwall away. How are we going to fare? What's the score?
2-0.
I can't believe you think we're going to keep a clean sheet after Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, stranger things have happened, haven't they?
I mean, Victor's all over it. He couldn't be blamed for the goals on Saturday. He couldn't have done a great deal about that. Maybe come for that first one, but I think that would have been a bit harsh, a lot harsh actually. So he's going to have to he's going to step up and keep a clean sheet on when is it, Wednesday or Tuesday?
Wednesday.
He's going to keep a clean sheet Wednesday night, and we're all going to be happy.
Okay, I'm going to go 1-1. Danny, what do you reckon?
I reckon it's going to be 5-5 now. Yeah, I'm going to say 1-1 as well.
Good stuff. Just look at the midweek fixtures. We'll talk about this in the next episode, but I think this does matter. We play Preston on Saturday. Preston play Tuesday. We play Wednesday.
Well, that's not a surprise, is it? Why is that a surprise?
I mean, to be fair, Millwall played today, so that's why they're playing Wednesday.
Yeah, it's almost a full fixture on Wednesday, except for there's most games are on Wednesday this week rather than Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, that's just me being there. There you go. Chav says 0-0, so does Chris Tether. IFC OK says 4-0 to Millwall. Martin Holland agrees with us 1-1. John Morell says Millwall 2-0, terrible place to go with our away record. Harry says 3-0 to Millwall. Yodger says 0-0. Chris Wright says 0-1 to us. YouTube user 3-1. I think that reads. I think that's to us. Michael Miller 2-1 to us. Michael Carnell 3-1 loss. John Morell says they play us Tuesday. John, if you get a few players sent off for them, that really help us.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Or injured, whichever.
Yeah.
Just a minor injury would be fine. We're absolutely fine.
Yeah, minor injury. Just keep them out for Saturday.
Yeah.
Is it weird that, like, I see a lot of people predicting Millwall to put a few past us? Is it weird? It's like Sheffield United connotations. Like everyone thought we were going to get absolutely battered by Sheffield United last season. We somehow.
What I will say is, we put the tweet out from the Twitter account on Saturday. Just the sequence of fixtures in terms of, I'll repeat now if anybody's not seen it. So Norwich beat Huddersfield 4-0. We then beat Norwich 2-1, and that Huddersfield team that got beat 4-1 beat us 2-0. Football doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's no reason we can't go win on Wednesday. It's certainly not a foregone conclusion. I would hope that Matt Taylor's got into him properly about this away form, especially after the manner of the performance. But don't know. We can only wait and see, can't we? That's all we can do is sit here, wait and see, and hope for the best. Richard Brown says on that three wins bet from Tom. He's looking safe. Yeah. Sadly for Tom, we lost. Even more sadly than normal. Anything else you boys want to mention, talk about that I haven't already mentioned? No.
Just bear in mind that LPMT Main Street came out on Friday. Get yourselves over to wherever it is you get your music from. Download that. It's a fantastic track. In fact, while you're there, download the album, Providence, LPMC. Download it. It's fantastic. And support a local artist.
Yeah. And also the Millerman. The Millerman
yes.
B-side is up, which I like. I like a lot. I like Main Street as well. Main Street's the best song on the album for me. I love it. Danny, anything from you, mate?
No.
Cool.
That's all good from me.
Thank you all who have been with us. Make sure you've subscribed on YouTube if you haven't already. If you haven't already, go back and watch the Hakeem Adolfin interview, which we released on Friday on audio. It's both available on audio. If you just want to listen to it on your walk or your run, it's available just for audio. If you want to watch it, it's also available through there as well. You can see Danny's question from the cellar of his pub.
Hey,
Danny, did you watch the episode?
I haven't had a chance, if I'm being honest, lads.
I know you haven't, because he'd be having a dig at you, Mick, if you had.
Yeah.
He took you out for your question.
What? Say again.
You have to go back and watch it. Basically, you filmed it, and you filmed it as if you didn't know what your question was going to be.
No, I didn't, because I went to go and change a barrel, and I thought of it on the spot.
Anyway, go and watch that anyway, just because you can laugh at that. And Hacks was just really, really good as well. John Bell, can you get a player on before you play Birmingham? We'll not get anybody on it this way. But I hope everybody did enjoy it. If you did enjoy it, let us know. If you didn't enjoy it, I suppose, let us know as well if you like. Wherever you watched it or listened, give us a thumbs up on the video if you're watching on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe to iTunes, Spotify, all that kind of things. We will see you on Thursday as our next scheduled episode. So Thursday evening, we will look back at what will hopefully be the first away win of the season, hopefully. And we will, as we go ahead to play Preston, who I think are currently top of the table, in next Saturday's game. So brilliant.
Should we make up some sort of off-the-cuff sudden challenge? If we come back Thursday and we have got our first away win of the season, like we have to wear some sort of silly hat or something?
You can think if you want to think of one. I don't have a silly hat.
Neither do I, to be fair. I'll think of something.
We'll think of something. Keep an eye on the socials. We'll have a silly hat Thursday. If we get around, we'll have a silly hat Thursday, whatever that means. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. We appreciate being with us every week. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Thank you, Mick, for being with us, even if you were a bit late.
Apologies.
And Danny, thank you for being with us from the start. Thank you very much.
No worries. Always a pleasure.
Change.
Just to be fair.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
It's a Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringer, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, the Dauphin, he can hit them, and he does. The Dauphin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.